You know how we often think of historical figures by the titles they earned or the legacies they left behind? We kind of forget they were real people first. So today, we're diving into the incredible origin story of a rebel, a teacher, and a spiritual icon, all forged in the heart of one remarkable woman, a woman who the world would come to know as Sister Nivedita. But before all that, we need to meet Margaret Noble. Wow, just listen to those words for a second. The mother's heart, the hero's will. This was written as a blessing by the great spiritual leader, Swami Vivekananda. And it's not just a poem, right? It's this monumental task, this destiny, really, laid out for someone to be all these things for an entire nation. So the big question is, who on earth could possibly live up to a calling like that?
Well, her name was Margaret Elizabeth Noble. Long before she was Sister Nivedita, which means the dedicated one, she was this brilliant, intellectual educator and activist from Ireland. And that's the key, you know. To really understand the saint, you have to get to know the rebel first. And our story, it doesn't start in India. It starts in Ireland.
So let's go all the way back. To really get a feel for Margaret's fire, we have to look at the world that first sparked it.
Okay, picture this. 19th century Ireland. This was a time and a place just buzzing with two really powerful forces. On one hand, you had this deep, unshakable religious faith, and on the other, an equally passionate spirit of nationalism and idealism. It's right into this supercharged atmosphere that our hero is born.
So Margaret Noble is born in 1867. Her dad, who was a minister, gave her this one core belief that would literally guide her whole life, that the best way to serve God is to serve other people. But this happy childhood, it was cut tragically short. When Margaret was still just a kid, her father died. And that one event just changed everything, leading the family to pack up and move to England.
After losing her father, another really powerful figure stepped in to help shape Margaret's young mind, her maternal grandfather. And let me tell you, this is where that rebellious spirit really starts to take shape.
Yeah, her grandfather, Hamilton, wasn't just some kindly old grandpa. He was a leader in the Irish nationalist movement. Can you just imagine being a kid in that house? Margaret wasn't just hearing bedtime stories, she was soaking up incredible tales of struggle, freedom, and fighting for your homeland. Her real education was happening right there at the dinner table.
And look at what he taught her. A fierce love for her country. That same passion she had for Irish freedom would later pop up in her incredible support for Indian independence. He also taught her about the power of imagination, the importance of being curious, and maybe the biggest one of all, the courage to question everything. That right there, that became her trademark. So with this amazing foundation of service and rebellion already in place, Margaret then heads into the world of formal education. And this is where her brilliant mind just completely takes off.
17. Just let that number sink in for a second. At 17, when most of us are just starting to figure things out, Margaret had already finished all her studies. She wasn't just starting her career, she was a fully qualified teacher ready to run a classroom. I mean, that kind of drive is just extraordinary.
And get this, she wasn't just good at one thing. Her intellect was huge. She was amazing across the board, from the creativity of art and music all the way to the hardcore logic of natural sciences and physics. That mix of artistic soul and scientific brain made her a uniquely powerful thinker.
So, okay, she had the knowledge. She definitely had the passion. But for a mind like hers, forged in service and rebellion, just mastering the system was never, ever going to be enough. Was it really enough to just learn from other people? Or was she meant to build something totally new? And this is the moment. This is where Margaret the scholar becomes Margaret the pioneer. She didn't just accept the education system of her day. Armed with that courage to question everything, she basically set out to tear it down and build something better.
Think about it. On one side, you had the typical Victorian classroom. Super rigid, all about strict discipline and memorizing facts. Kids were just seen as empty piggy banks you fill with information. But Margaret's method? It was the polar opposite. She was all about nurturing a kid's natural curiosity, using play as a real tool for discovery, and making sure students were actively involved in their own learning. Her whole approach, which she called the new education, kind of boils down to three simple but powerful ideas. First, create freedom. Just let kids be curious. Second, make learning real and fun, not just boring lectures. And third, and this is the absolute key, her goal was totally different.
She wasn't there to just fill a bucket with facts, she was there to light a fire.
And you know, these weren't just nice ideas she wrote down in a journal. In 1892, Margaret put her money where her mouth was and founded her very own school in Wimbledon. This was her lab, her chance to prove that these radical, kid-first methods actually worked. It was such a bold move, a real act of defiance against how everyone else was doing things.
So, let's just pull back for a second. We've seen an Irish girl, raised on faith and revolution, turn into a brilliant scholar and a game-changing educator. She was already this incredible force of nature, changing the world one kid at a time. But that fire her grandfather helped ignite, well, it was about to meet a spiritual force that would turn it into a global beacon, getting her ready to become that mistress, servant, friend in one that Swami Vivekananda saw in her. Her greatest transformation was still just around the corner.